If you always have to double check with someone before buying something, if you're always waiting for your friend's opinion before you wear an outfit out, if you change your opinions based on other people's views, if you avoid doing things out of fear of being judged, then this video is definitely for you. And make sure you stay until the end because I'm spilling the most important info. Then there's going to be 3 parts to this video. The first one is going to be the trap of external validation. The second part is going to be how to liberate yourself from these expectations, and the third part will be how to become your own safe space. And then there's going to be categories within each part. So first, why is external validation a trap? I really want to emphasize how important self-validation is. And I see this a lot. I'm a nutritionist. I have a lot of clients who will rely on others for their validation. And they will tell me that there are things that they want to do, clothes that they want to wear, or like that they want to go to the gym, they want to do that activity, but they're not doing it because they're afraid of being judged by other people and they want to be validated by their peers. Obviously, the problem with the diet industry is that there are these like unrealistic body standards, and that anybody who doesn't match that image will get criticized. And I've actually known people who were very comfortable in their bodies, really validated themselves, but then when they dealt with outside pressure linked to rampant diet culture, they would start to have doubts and they would start to like fear the judgment of others, and all like their self-validation went down the drain. People are always going to make comments about your body, about you, and you absolutely need to get away from that, whether it be for your weight, for your way of eating, for the way you look, anything like that. You cannot let other people bully you into doing things that you don't want to do. You can't be living your life for these other people, which is literally what you're doing when you're letting others validate you. You're doing what they want with your life. The thing is that it's normal human behavior to seek a certain type of validation. I'm going to speak about that later on. There are healthy ways to be validated by your peers. However, it becomes problematic when a few things happen. First of all, if you start seeking out pointless like validation sources, for instance, social media, you can be very conditioned to get validation through the number of likes or comments, follows, whatever, shares your publication gets, your account gets. And that literally should not mean anything. It's not real. You know that social media is just like this curated reality, yet you will base so much of your self-worth onto those numbers. That is not healthy validation. Another unhealthy form of validation is if it's coming from total strangers. Like if the way that a stranger on the street looks at your outfit, or looks at the way that you are like laughing with a friend or like filming something, and that makes you feel self-conscious, that makes you feel judged, and you're seeking validation from this person, so you stop doing what you're doing, you stop wearing that outfit, whatever. That is not good at all either. It's literally a stranger. You should not be caring about what this person thinks. Also, if you're a woman attracted to men, chances are you're creating your appearance and your behavior to appeal to men and like to the male gaze in general. Like you have to dress sexy but not too slutty, or else they don't like that. You have to dress feminine. You can't be too masculine because they don't like that. You need to be well-spoken and intelligent and have thoughts, but you can't be too much of a feminist. You can't voice your opinions too much, or else they won't like that. So this is very limiting. Obviously, you're moving away from your authentic self, and male validation is probably like the worst one. I feel like ideally, you should strive to need no validation from anybody. However, if you are still in like the beginner phases of it, if you need to detach little by little, then at least make sure that you're seeking your validation from women and like friends, not the male gaze. People pleasing is also a huge problem with seeking external validation, and people pleasing is really rooted in this desire to be loved and accepted by others to the point where you are putting their wants, their needs, their desires above your own, because you don't want to be seen like an inconvenience to anybody, a burden. You want to be seen as like this great, nice, kind person that never says no, that always goes out of your way to be nice to people and protect people, do things for them. And this is, I would say, the only aspect of like external validation that I really struggle with. I've always been a people pleaser. I'm really working on it. I'm really working on not doing that anymore. I'm learning that you can be a kind person, you can be there for others, you can be supportive without being a people pleaser. You need to understand that you will not be able to please everyone. You will not be able to be everybody's best friend. Not everybody is going to think you're like this amazing, wonderful person. So stop trying. Stop trying so hard, because the person you're going to end up deceiving when you're people pleasing is you. And that's literally the like only person on earth you cannot be deceiving. Being kind to people, being a good person, being helpful, and being your own true self, being true to who you are, doing things that matter for you and putting yourself in priority are not mutually exclusive. So now that we've covered all of that, how do you actually liberate yourself from these expectations? First, you need to get rid of limiting beliefs. And limiting beliefs are often these deep-rooted ideas that we have about ourselves and our capabilities. And they can be things like, I'm not good enough to do this, or there's no point in doing this because it's never going to work, or I'm never going to be able to do like this type of exercise, so might as well not even try. I'm never going to be able to get that degree, so might as well not even try. I'm going to look ridiculous if I wear these clothes, so I'm just not going to buy them. And it's crucial that you start working on these limiting beliefs, and in order to work on them, you first need to identify them. Like, we all have them. You need to find these moments where you find yourself like speaking about these things about yourself, or like when you're preventing yourself from doing things because you have these beliefs, and then you need to write them down somewhere, and then you need to actively dismantle them. You can find evidence to contradict these. You can ask around, like ask people around you, friends, family, how this thing isn't true, and actively do things to prove to yourself that it isn't true. Like, if you tell yourself, oh, I'm never going to be able to be a public speaker because I get nervous to speak in public, then do things that prove you wrong. Or like, oh, I'm never going to be able to play the piano, start taking piano lessons. Like, do active things that are going to dismantle these like deeply rooted beliefs, and then start cultivating a narrative that actually supports your values and what you want to believe about yourself. So instead of thinking, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I can do this, I am good enough. Okay, now you really need to understand, and I don't want to be mean when I'm saying that, nobody cares about you. Literally, nobody cares about you. Like, this is the world. You are 1 in 8 billion people who have their own struggles, their own problems, their own insecurities, their own things to deal with. Nobody is thinking about you. If you truly think that you are so important that people are going to think about you all the time and like be constantly criticizing you, constantly picking apart everything you're doing, then your ego is too big, because people don't have that time to dedicate to you. And if they do, that's on them. Too bad. Their life is not interesting. I'm not saying that nobody is ever going to judge you for what you do. Of course, people are going to judge momentarily. Like, if you wear a daring outfit, people are going to stare at you in that moment. Are they going to think about it an hour later? Are they going to like think about it a week later, a month later? No, of course not. Honestly, when I started realizing this, when I started realizing that people all had their own issues and were probably scared of what I was thinking about them, and I was here scared about what they're thinking about me, it's just a waste of time. Just do your own thing, live the way that you want to live, and that's enough. One approach I really love to help with this is the fake it till you make it approach. So, of course, you're not going to instantly have the confidence to not care what people think and not care of like other people's judgments. I can understand that. However, it's totally fine to believe that you have the confidence, believe that you're able to like walk down the street and not care, and just fake it. Fake it. It's not about being like inauthentic. It's more about embodying the person that you want to become. It's kind of like with manifestation, you say like, oh, you have to act as if that thing is already there. Same thing with here. You have to ask yourself, how would this version of me who doesn't care what other people think about her, who is not waiting for others to validate her, how is she acting? What is she doing? And then you need to start doing those things. Even if you're not that person yet, doing these things will get you quicker to the place where you are that person, if that makes sense. Another thing to help with that is to really celebrate small achievements and practice gratitude for the things that you do have. Again, if you're somebody who's really scared to like change up your hairstyle because you don't want other people to tell you that your old hairstyle looked better, do things little by little. Maybe cut a little bit off or like change the color slightly. Do things like that, and then realize that you are this person who can change their hairstyle regardless of what other people think. And then that will embolden you to make decisions that are a little bit more out there. Then after a while, when you get from faking it to celebrating minor things to actually being a confident person that doesn't have to fake anything, you've won. It's also super crucial that your actions match your thoughts and your words. So let's say that you have your values, the person you would love to be, like all of that. And then you have what you're thinking. So we've already established that you need to be thinking like positive thoughts about yourself. You need to be thinking positive thoughts about you embodying the values that you like. So that's a step. But also now you need to get to another step where your actions also match these thoughts and these like values. Because if you're thinking all of this, if it's all in your head, but what you're doing isn't proving to yourself that it's actually true, then you're gonna have this like kind of like cognitive distortion, and it's not gonna work. For instance, let's say that you really value creativity and like being a creative person, and then doing that over having like your like standard job. And then let's say that your thoughts are, instead of being like, oh, I'm bad, I could never succeed, you've been able to change them. And now it's like, I will succeed, I will become an artist, my work will sell. But then your actions are still you in your 9-to-5 job that you hate. It's not fine. That's not good. That's not an alignment. So you need to start pursuing your creative endeavors in order to actually have everything align. And this really shows yourself that you value your own thoughts and your own ideas for yourself more than the potential judgment of other people who are going to be like, well, it's hard to be an artist, you should stay in your job that you hate. The ultimate goal is that everything you do is aligned with your own values, like the things you see for yourself, and not societal expectations. Another thing that can be helpful is if you find a greater purpose for yourself, if you find kind of like a greater purpose, which can be a hobby you're absolutely passionate about, or like a cause that you really care deeply for, then that will really motivate you, because you're going to be really in alignment. Like I talked about earlier, you're going to have your values, and then your actions are going to be aligning with your values. And since this is something that you feel very strongly about, then you're not going to care what other people will say about it. You're not going to care whether they validate it or not, because for you, it's like a very, very big purpose. So you're going to be building all that self-worth and doing all these great things in total alignment, and you're not going to be bothered by external validation. Again, because that thing is like 100% validated and in alignment for you. And again, that's going to create that confidence that you can make your own good decisions, that you don't need other people to tell you what you should be doing. So now that you understand why external validation is not a great idea, and that you're starting to liberate yourself from societal expectations, from these like exterior sources of validation, you need to learn to become your own safe place so that you can be the only source of validation that matters. So first thing you need to do is you need to start seeking self-compassion. I say this to my clients all the time. You need to be talking to yourself as if you were talking to a friend, family member, loved one. You cannot be having these like harsh ways of talking to yourself that you're currently having. I know it. I know that. You need to be gentle, understanding, positive. You need to listen. You need to hear yourself out. But also, you need to reaffirm what you believe kindly, firmly. And I know that you know how to do this because everybody is a good friend to somebody else. And when you're a good friend, you are understanding. You leave your friends room to grow. That doesn't mean that you don't hold them accountable, but you are kind and gentle about it. That's the way that you need to be for yourself. And this is crucial for self-validation because it will teach you that you are human. You can make mistakes. There is room for improvement. There is room for growth. There is room for change. So we're not talking about validating every single thing, every single tiny idea that you have. That's not it. We're talking about actually giving any thoughts you have, any ideas you have, the benefit of the doubt, and then trying them out, seeing what it's like. And if you figure out that it's a terrible idea, that's fine too. There's room for mistakes. And just because you make like one self-validation mistake, and I'm using air quotes because what even is a mistake? It's a mistake if you decide that it is. But let's say you decide to like take up this one hobby and you spend like a ton of money in it, and then finally you're like, I shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake. And then people outside are like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. And then finally you're like, okay, I shouldn't have done that. That doesn't mean that you can never listen to your own like inner thoughts again. Of course not. Again, we all make mistakes. There's room to grow. You need to also learn what you like, what you don't like, what you want to do, what you don't want to do. And you need space to do that without like fearing of being judged by your own self. Practicing mindfulness can also be helpful because when you're really focused in the present moment and you do this kind of like mindfulness technique that is to observe your feelings, your thoughts without any judgment. You just let them kind of like pass by and allow them to exist in that moment without being like, oh, this is terrible because this happened in the past and like this can happen in the future and all of this and blah, blah. No, this will also help you recognize your kind of like intrinsic worth. Again, during this present moment in this time right now, what do I have going on for myself? All these things, you don't need external validation to prove them. They are just there. And then also alongside these kind of mindfulness practices, it can be a good idea to self-reflect a lot, to try to identify patterns that lead to you like unvalidating your feelings or your desires and preferring validation from others. And that can be a very helpful tool to recognize all of this. You really need to understand that your own opinions should be the only ones that matter. And if not that, at least they should be the highest standard of validation. When you're doing this like self-validation journey, your opinion should always hold the highest weight possible. And it's okay to ask for others' opinions. It's okay to consider that a little bit, but it should only be very, very minor compared to what you think. You need to remember that people's opinions will vary depending on their own thing that they have going on, their biases, their own personal opinions, their own like life experiences. Maybe they have some type of unconscious feelings towards you that are going to transpire a little bit in their validation or not of what you're doing. Like there's all these things that you have to take into account, which is why you cannot hold anybody else's opinions to a higher standard than your own. Because at the end of the day, no one knows you better than you know yourself. You're the one that's spending all this time with yourself. You're the one that is going to know exactly what it is that you want, that you need, and that what you should or should not be doing. And you're the only one that is going to have to live with the decisions that you make. So the decisions better be ones that come from you. And I'm really going to give you an awesome tip to channel this energy. I use this all the time, and if you get one thing from this video, let it be this. And this is how you can channel the energy to validate yourself so much that literally people's opinions will not affect you whatsoever. So let's say that you are 6 feet tall and then somebody comes up to you and makes fun of you for being too short. You're not going to assume that you're too short. You're not going to assume that the problem is with you. Instead, you're going to think that this person is weird. Maybe they're trying to make a joke. It's not funny. Maybe they've had like too much to drink. Maybe they just are just strange in general. Anyway, the problem is going to be on them, not on you. You're comfortable with your height. You know that 6 feet tall is not short, that it's tall, and you're fine with that. So it's not going to affect you because you know 100% that that's not true. And this is something that happens to me sometimes when I get criticized for not being French. Like I have lots of people, not lots, but I have some people on my channel telling me that I am faking being French, that I'm doing it for like clout, that I'm doing it so that I can like speak on French people's behalf when actually I'm American. I'm not French at all. And this literally does not affect me because I know that it's not true. Like I know I'm French, and I actually take it as a compliment because that means you think my English is good enough that I can pass off as being American. And I literally think this person is making a fool out of themselves for saying that. I never think like, oh no, am I actually not French? So the thing is that obviously in these situations, it's easy because, 6 feet tall is tall. And then being French, like I'm French, there's nothing to unvalidate. You need to be channeling this energy for everything in your life, every single thing. And every time somebody makes a comment or like you feel judged, you feel like something is wrong, think about this example again, like channel that energy again. You've validated this choice. You've decided to dress like that. You've decided to do that thing. Even if you weren't 100% sure from the start, even if you were kind of like on the fence about it and you were like, okay, let's say, I don't know if I should wear these like high heels or not. And then finally you decide to wear them. And then somebody criticizes them. You shouldn't be like, oh, I should have never worn them. In the end, you decided to wear them. That means that you validated that choice. So now you have to be like 100% all in. And if that person criticizes your shoes, then you need to start thinking something is wrong with them. They're criticizing shoes. I look amazing in them. These shoes are wonderful. Like, whatever. This person is weird. Move on with your day. Literally, that's the energy you need. And this needs to be for everything. Your clothes, the way you look, the way you act, the way you talk, your opinions, what you want to do with your life, your hobbies, your job, whatever. And finally, it is good to build a supportive network of people who validate you in the best way. And I touched about this on this like a little bit earlier, but what I mean by that is that your close circle, your close friends, family, they should be people who encourage you in your choices, and you can like bounce ideas off of them. You can like ask them what they think, but they know that the final decision should always come down to you, and they're going to validate that decision no matter what, because they know that if it's coming from you, then it's the right decision. That's kind of the energy that you need to be having around with your close circle. So make sure that you can build a circle that can provide constructive feedback, that you can discuss certain things with, and that you like value and trust their opinion. But ultimately, these people will tell you to go with your gut, whatever it is. And that's also going to be helpful because you know that you are worthy of making choices that you validate on your own, and that you don't need external source of validation, just like very close circle who again should be validating your choices just because they're your choices. So that's it for this very long video. I really had a lot to say on this topic. I think all of this is very important for everybody, and specifically if I'm thinking about my clients, people who are trying to eat healthier and build healthier eating habits, but always have like in the back of their mind their appearance, what people are going to think, how people are going to judge them, all of that. And it's so important to learn to let go of that in order to truly make the best decisions for your body, for your health. Or else chances are you're going to, if you put like your physical appearance and other people's validation above what you think, then you can get sucked into diets and things that are just like unhealthy and bad for you. So I really hope that you got something out of this video and that you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like it, subscribe, and see you on my next one. Bye.